How many of you follow the Shade Room? And how many of you have complained about the Shade Room while still following the Shade Room? Because it's a bit of a contradiction, isn't it? We say we hate it, we say we want better, we say that the gossip is toxic, the comments are cruel, and the content is too negative. And then when we open Instagram, there it is at the top of our feed because we never actually unfollowed. We just complained about it and then kept scrolling. 29 million followers. Guys, deep that. 29 million followers is what they have. That's more than like CNN or BBC News or most major news networks on the planet. And it was built almost entirely on drama, gossip, and negativity. Now, this video is not necessarily about tearing down the Shade Room in particular, because the Shade Room is just the most visible example of something so much bigger. Something that explains why Jeremy Kyle ran for 14 years exploiting vulnerable people on national television, why true crime podcasts are the fastest growing genre in audio, and why the Daily Mail has historically been one of the most read newspapers in the world, and why your most negative social media posts always outperforms your most positive ones. I used to work as a journalist before I got into marketing and branding, and what I saw inside newsrooms explains pretty much everything, and we're gonna get to that. If you're new here, please do hit that subscribe button. I appreciate you guys so much. We were just on like 1,000 subscribers the other day. I break down branding and marketing media strategies through pop culture, celebrities, and basically unpacking why some brands thrive and others simply don't. So Angelica started the Shade Room in 2014. One woman, an Instagram page, no funding, and I believe no journalism degree, and no media connections. And she built it into one of the most powerful brands in America, reportedly generating millions in annual revenue, with roughly 90% of that coming from advertising. So at a time where some traditional publications are struggling with advertisement and getting deals and partnerships, she is just like bringing them in one after the other. So Wendy Williams built a talk show that ran for 14 years. And when you break down why it actually worked, it wasn't the celebrity interviews or the production quality. It wasn't even the hot topic segments itself. It was the fact that Wendy Williams would sit on national television and say the things you said to your best friend in a group chat last night, and she would say it with her chest. No filter, no apology, and you would probably watch that thinking, I've been saying that, or I've wanted to say that, but I've been too scared to say it. It's basically emotional outsourcing. Most of us are trained from childhood to be polite, don't gossip, don't judge, be kind, and we do follow those rules publicly. But privately, we do have opinions, strong ones, about what that celebrity wore, about why that relationship is fake, about how that person doesn't deserve their platform. We do have those thoughts. If people wanted to be honest, they have those thoughts. The thing is, we just don't say it out loud, and we just don't say it because it's not very nice, right? And there are social consequences. Wendy said them for us. The Shade Room comment section does the exact same thing, because people go to the Shade Room not just to read. They go to perform honesty in a space where they feel like they won't be judged. Your own Instagram page has your name, your face, your employer in the bio. The Shade Room comment section, that's the mask. People feel like they can say what they actually think and nobody's screenshotting your page. So that platform absorbs the social risk so that you don't have to. And that's the psychology you need to understand when you're thinking, why is that person still so famous? Why is that TV network still going on? Why is that publication still thriving? People will basically tell themselves, well, I'm not the one that said it. That person said it. Even though they're engaging with what that person says, they feel like they still distance themselves. And there's this idea of, at least it's not me. Jeremy Kyle's entire show was built on one unspoken promise to the audience. No matter how bad your life is, these people's lives are worse. And I guess we can call that downward social comparison. We measure our own lives against people who appear to be doing worse, and it makes us feel better. You're sitting on your sofa watching a couple scream at each other about a lie detector test, and somewhere in the back of your mind you're thinking, my relationship has problems, but at least we're not on Jeremy Kyle. And that thought is exactly the product. That thought is exactly what these publications, these media outlets want you to feel. That relief. It makes you feel good. Even though you hate what's happening to those people, you low-key kind of feel good because you're like, damn, at least I'm not going through that. Divorce Court has basically done the same thing. Every talk show that puts real people's real problems on a stage is selling that audience the same feeling. Reassurance through comparison. Your life is hard, but look at their life. You might be struggling, but at least you're not that person. That's what they want you to feel. Why? Because you will most definitely keep coming back each time. And it's happened across every single demographic. Love Island viewers watch people make terrible romantic decisions and feel better about their own lives. Mind you, some of the people who are watching some of these girls cry over the man, they've been crying over men. They've been crying over, and they've been in horrible situations. They've been with the guy that's cheated on them 10,000 times. But they will sit there and be cussing out this lady, be making fun of her, be going on Twitter talking so much smack, despite basically already doing very similar things in their lives, and so on and so forth. The dangerous part is that that feeling can be genuinely soothing. When your day has been terrible, watching someone else's day be worse is a form of emotional regulation. It is not healthy long term, but in the moment, it seems to clearly be working. And anything that works in the moment will be consumed repeatedly. That is why people binge watch reality TV. It's basically self-medication disguised as entertainment. And then there's the idea that it's basically escapism, but with no obvious risk, because there certainly is a risk. Think about it. When you watch something positive, a love story, someone else achieving their dream, a family reunion, you're emotionally invested and emotionally vulnerable. It's a tough economy. It's a tough job market. So many things are happening right now. You're very happy for that person. And for a lot of us, we're happy for that person and we feel motivated and inspired to actually chase our own dreams. But for a lot of other people, they start thinking about what they don't have, what they've lost. And that positive content can actually trigger sadness because it holds up a mirror to the gap between someone else's joy and your own reality. And I wish we could just somehow tell people that it doesn't have to be that way. It's the fact that gossip is a social glue. Everyone, well, not everyone. A lot of people are really lonely. A lot of people do not have community right now. But if someone says, hey, did you see what the Shade Room posted? Did you watch what happened in Jeremy Carr the other day? Did you see what happened on Real Housewives? That sentence or those sentences has started more conversations than any motivational quote probably ever has. And the reason for that is because, well, there's a researcher called Robin Dunbar, the same researcher who came up with the Dunbar's number. And there's this idea basically that gossip accounts for roughly 65% of all human conversation, which, damn, is actually really, really, really sad. 2/3 of everything we say to each other is essentially gossip, talking about other people, their behavior, their relationships, their decisions. Another reason could be we frame it as justice. This is what no one wants to admit. A lot of people don't say things like, oh, I enjoy watching people fail. But they will say things like they need to be held accountable. No one says I love to gossip. So they say people deserve to know the truth. And then they won't say, oh, I watch the Shade Room because drama entertains me. They say I follow them to stay informed. That justice framing is how we give ourselves permission to consume negativity guilt-free. And the reason that model works is actually something that scientists have been studying for decades. It's called negativity bias. Your brain is literally wired to pay more attention to negative information than positive information. It's not a personality flaw. You're not this horrible human being. But for most of human history, missing a threat meant death. Missing a reward just meant missing a reward. So your brain learned to prioritize the bad stuff, and then it kind of never unlearned. And Angelica, whether she studied the science or just understood people, built a business that exploits that instinct perfectly. Post content that triggers that negativity bias. The bias drives engagement. The engagement drives follower growth. The follower growth attracts advertisers because the advertisers pay for sponsored posts that sit in between the drama. And the audience never skips the ads because they're too busy scrolling through the comments arguing about whatever just got posted. Every brand that advertises on the Shade Room is making the same calculation that every advertiser has made in history. They're not paying for positivity, they're paying for attention. And negativity delivers that attention at scale. That's why the algorithm, believe it or not, will push negative news, will push rage bait, will push controversy, because they know that we're in the attention economy, and the best way to get people's attention is a little bit of controversy here and there, a little bit of rage bait, and whatever basically drives serious emotional reactions, mainly anger. Jeremy Carl was on for 1 hour a day. The Shade Room equivalent in the 90s was a magazine you picked up at the supermarket checkout. You engaged with it for 5 minutes and then put it back. Social media removed every single one of those limits. The feed is ongoing, it's 24 hours, there is no closing time, and the algorithm is designed to keep you scrolling by showing you more of what you've already engaged with. If you paused on a Shade Room post for 3 extra seconds, even if it was to read the caption and shake your head, the algorithm registered that as interest, even if it wasn't. And then what it does is it shows you more. The algorithm does not understand the context. It doesn't know you stopped because you were disgusted. So why doesn't someone just do the exact opposite? That's the question that you're probably thinking. No one actually tried. In 2012, a website called Upworthy launched with one mission: positive news, feel-good stories, inspirational content, no drama, and was backed by a Facebook co-founder. It was called one of the fastest growing media sites of all time. By 2013, it was reaching 100 million people a month. By 2018, they'd laid off 40% of their staff, the editor-in-chief resigned, the CEO resigned, the founder stepped down, the company was acquired and effectively gutted. The Shade Room's brand strategy is give the audience what their brain craves, monetize an engagement through advertising, and ignore the complaints. Because the people complaining are still following. The complaint is the engagement. Every time someone comments TSR is so toxic, that's a comment, that's engagement. And that outrage doesn't actually hurt the brand, guys, because it is the brand. The negativity is the brand. So what are we meant to do with all this information I'm giving you? I'm not saying this to shame anyone, by the way. I watch Real Housewives. I watch pretty much every single franchise. That is full of drama. It is full of gossip. It is full of so much negativity sometimes. I'm saying this because you have to understand the psychology. Once you know your brain is wired to prioritize negative information, you can start making conscious choices instead of automatic ones. You can recognize the pull and decide to follow it or not follow it. Ever since learning more about the psychology and marketing and how these brands, companies, TV networks get you, I'm making a more conscious effort on what I watch.